So the tower is open and you can climb up it, but it's a spiral staircase all the way to the top, and I'm afraid of heights. Good morning. So I stayed in Dalton last night and I got my resupply, took shower at the community center. They offer free showers for hikers. And I pitched my tent in Tom Lavardi's front yard. He allows hikers to pitch their tent there. So now I'm moving on. I'm going at least as far as Cheshire, and they have a Father Tom campsite there, which is supposed to be very nice. That'll also put us at the base of Mount Greylock, and we'll go up and over Mount Greylock tomorrow. I crested the high point between Dalton and Cheshire, and I'm on my way down the other side. That shower I had yesterday is all but useless now. Although it was nice last night to be clean in the tent. One of the things that I want to do when I get to Cheshire is to pick up another bottle of bug spray. I've been going through it more than I normally would because these little demons are relentless this week. Is Mount Greylock. I will be up there tomorrow. It seems so far away. This is the Father Tom campsite in Cheshire. Oh, look how cute this is. Option 1, I can stay here where there's water and electricity and porta potties and picnic tables and plenty of space to spread out. Or I could walk 5 miles up a hill in the heat and it might rain. What should I do? I think I'll stay here. Good morning. I am leaving the Father Tom campsite. It's a very nice campsite. The community really did a beautiful job making something that would be nice for hikers with all the amenities. The story goes that Father Tom was an avid outdoorsman. He was the pastor of the local church, and he himself section hiked the Appalachian Trail over the course of a number of years. And he would host hikers at the church when they came through town. After he passed in, I think it was 2018, the church decided they could no longer host hikers. And the community decided to create a space for hikers instead, and they did a very nice job. Today, I am climbing Greylock. It's going to be a lot of uphill today. I've got 2,500 feet of uphill. It's 8 miles to the top. So I think that means it won't be quite so steep, which will be nice. I'm hoping to get to the top by around lunchtime and spend some time up there midday. It would appear that the trail goes right through this cornfield. Back into the woods with the little buzzing demons and up the hill. It's supposed to get really hot later. I'd rather be doing this while it's cool. You remember I said there was a shelter partway up this mountain that I considered trying for last night? I haven't even gotten to it yet. I'm very glad I stopped when I did. And I'm on fresh legs this morning. Last night it was raining. I think I made the wise choice. Whew. So that's the Mark Noble shelter. And I'm going to take a quick snack break over there. But let me show you this. A lot of the privies in Massachusetts are interesting. When you open them up, there are 2 seats. Number 1 is where you do number 1, and then you move over to seat number 2 to do number 2. You have to put them in 2 separate seats. As I understand it, the theory is that the number 2 makes compost better if it's not all wet. So that's why they separate them. I am very surprised that more people haven't blown past me by now. So far, the only people that have caught up to me are Journeys and Twigs. Now, Journeys, Twigs, and Barn Owl are a tramily. They kind of adopted me into their tramily as well. So we've been staying at all the same places each night. Sign, let's see. Mount Greylock Summit. That way we go. There's my first glimpse of the summit. That's where I'm headed. My goal was to make it to the top by lunchtime. It's 11:45. I spent a couple of hours on top of Mount Greylock, drying out my tent, having lunch at Bascom Lodge, and enjoying some melancholy time at the summit. 6 years ago, on a trip to the Berkshires, my husband and I drove to the top of Mount Greylock with Greg. I have pictures of the two of them at the overlook near the summit monument, and I spent some time there remembering and wishing that Greg was still with us. Ooh. The goal for today was to do the 8 miles up Mount Greylock to the summit, and then partway down the other side to a shelter, the Wilbur Clearing Shelter, I think, something like that. And that makes for, I think, 11 or 11 and a half miles today. I briefly considered going on to the next campsite, which would involve going all the way down the other side of Greylock and partway up the next climb. But as I'm coming down this section, I can feel my knee saying to me, hey, slow down or I'm going to get cranky. So I'm slowing my pace down a little bit. And I think the 11 or 11 and a half or whatever it is today, I think that'll be sufficient. And that'll give my knee a chance to rest overnight and get ready for tomorrow. This area is Wilbur Clearing. There's a shelter down there somewhere, and a lot of tent platforms. And a privy over there. I'm gonna set my tent up right here. I got spoiled at all the other campsites, having the water so close by. I had to walk a couple of tents to get the water this time. Not to mention, the campsite we're at is 3 tents off the AT. Good morning. I'm just leaving camp. I managed to get out of camp just before 6. I've been up since probably 3 because the wind whipped up. Wasn't really blowing my tent. Most of the wind was going kind of just above our campsite rather than through it, but it was howling. The forecast for today is rain. We're hoping to do about 13 miles today to get to another shelter. And I'm trying to get on trail early to get as much of that as possible done before it starts to rain. I know you can't tell in the video because the camera adjusts for lighting, but the forest is very dark this morning. I'm coming up to a road, thank goodness. I think I have a half-mile road walk on this. The good news is the lower half of that downhill wasn't as bad because it kind of switched back and forth, and my knees really appreciated that. Both of them are beginning to complain a little bit right now. The bad news is that you could probably tell it's starting to rain, so I'm just stopping to pull out my umbrella, especially on the road walk. It's been raining for a little while. I just haven't had my umbrella out yet. It's 100% humidity. My glasses are fogging up. And the lower I got and the wetter it got, the less wind there was, and the more the mosquitoes came out and started to attack. So I just had to put on some more bug spray because they got miserable. All right, onward and then upward. The rest of the day is going to be uphill. Most of the time, I love backpacking. But every so often, you get those moments, like just now coming down the hill with the mosquitoes and the rain, and the bog boards were wet and muddy and really slippery, and the rocks were really slippery, and I was trying to baby my knees, and I'm going, why am I out here? But, well, really? You kidding me? I think it's just going to do this on and off all day. But, that mountain ahead of me looks like what I'll be climbing next. I don't know, can you see that? Okay. Trail is following this river with all its little cascading mini rapids. It's been following it since I left the road. Very pretty, and I like the sound. This 100% humidity is brutal. This hill seems harder than yesterday's, even though it's not any steeper, and yesterday's was 2,500 feet of elevation, and this is about 1,600. But with this humidity, it's brutal. Did I really just open my mouth and say that this climb wasn't steep? And as soon as I say that, and up, steeply we go. Oh boy. This is the trail. It's like Pennsylvania coming back to haunt me again. Did I mention that the rocks are slippery and steep? Yay! The top. So that's what I just climbed up. I came from way down there. Now I'm just gonna sit and take a little break. Enjoy the view for a minute and have a snack. And then move on. Woohoo! I made it! Vermont! I have officially finished Massachusetts. when you look at the Vermont sign, oh boy, it's muddy. Of course, I'm not done with the trip yet because I've got a good 15 miles back to my car. So I've got one more shelter to stay in tonight. I'm beginning to understand how Vermont got its nickname for mud. And Massachusetts had a lot of mud too. I mean, granted, it's been raining, so there's going to be mud everywhere. But the mud bugs here seem to be bigger and wider since I crossed the border. Harder to get around. And I was in the middle of one particularly big mud bog, trying to figure out how to navigate my way across. And there was a log. You know how I love logs. And I kind of tested it first with my pole, and it seemed okay. But then I stepped on it, and it rolled. And my foot went right off and ankle deep into the mud. So, yeah, the mud can be bad here in Vermont. All right, the good news and the bad news. The good news is I made it to the top of the hill, over the crest. Now I'm going down. Bad news. It has started raining. I'm getting wet. I can hear the thunder in the background. So I think worse rain is coming. The mud bugs are getting worse. And twice I almost lost my shoe in one. So I have, I think, at least another mile to the shelter. And hopefully I'll be able to get a little dry when I get there. Ugh. I have about 2/10 to the shelter. The umbrella hasn't been doing as much good as I'd like because the plants are all kind of drooped over into the trail. And as I brush past them, my clothing is getting wet anyway. Well, the sun came out just as I walked up to the shelter. Good morning, everyone. I am leaving this shelter. I have about 9 miles back to the car. I hiked in the rain yesterday, but I did manage to get to the shelter before the really heavy thunderstorm hit, so I was grateful for that. Nothing dried out overnight, so I put wet clothing back on this morning, but it's all right. I'm going to get wet on trail today anyway. Everything is soaked. I'm kind of going down a river. The only way to avoid stepping into the mud or into the river that's running down the trail is to aim for the slippery rocks and roots. So this may take me a while, and I don't know how much filming I'll do today. never seen this many ferns all in one place. Look at that. I love Vermont, so I don't want to give it a bad rap. But boy, has it been muddy. And I'm not sure if it's always this muddy or if it has to do with the horrible flooding that they had about 2 weeks ago. Mosquitoes have also been really bad, and people have been saying they're usually gone by now. I have approximately half a mile down to the car. It's a very steep half a mile. They said it's okay, but it can be a little sketchy when it's wet. Oh, wait. Everything's wet right now. All right, I'll let you know when I get to the bottom. Looks like we got a landslide here. Stuff came down from the mountain probably during that heavy rain. Well, my first slip. I didn't really fall, I just sort of slid down and ended up in the sitting position on one of these rocks. But let me turn the camera around and show you this. That is how far I am from the end. Yay! I made it! All right, Massachusetts, done. Now to go home and get cleaned up.